our shoes shod with the readiness of the gospel of peace. And what I felt in my heart He wanted me to say is, tell them, I am the way. I am the way. I am the way. Because so often, so many of our questions in life that we have boiled down to this one thing that basically we're asking, what is the way? What is the way? And it could be how to deal with this person. It could be how to deal with this situation. It could be how to be in this relationship or how to adapt to this new circumstance. But basically it's like, what is the way? How am I going to get through this? How do you want me to respond to this? What is the way? And in reality, there are so many things that ultimately comes down to that question, what is the way? And His response to me every time when I have personally asked that question is, I am the way. Basically saying, you need to surrender your quest for a way to me and realize I am the way. I'm not going to show you a path, Rhonda. I'm going to show, you're going to follow me through this path. I am the way. I've been struggling with this. You guys know about what's been going on with my health. And most recently, what I found out, I didn't share this in my God moment because I wanted to share it with as part of the lesson, that I found out this week that most likely in October I will be starting chemotherapy. And so, for a 6-month round of chemotherapy. And so, I was pretty surprised, actually. I guess that my doctor had planned on that all along, but I didn't know. She didn't tell me until this past week, and that was the response to the lupus that I have. But there are some more testing they have to do before to make sure that MS is ruled out. But that's pretty much the plan. And the reason I was surprised is probably not what you're thinking. Of course, one of my biggest fears was I remember seeing people going through chemotherapy and thinking, I can never go through that. I would not be a good candidate for that. And so when I found out, about that, I was surprised because I had so much peace. And I thought, wow, I'm actually not afraid. And in some weird, crazy, weird way, actually, I was thinking, Jesus is prepared me for this. And there's peace with that. And there's also, of course, I wanted to know what's going to happen to my hair. That's always the girls' questions. And so I won't have hair. It doesn't seem like. There could be a slight possibility that I might not lose it, but this type of chemo is the kind where I'll lose my hair. And so, and I'm okay with that. And so, I just was surprised in a good way, like how much the Lord has prepared me for this, and that it's kind of, and I'm actually looking forward to what He may do in me and through me through this. Like as John said, He must increase and I must decrease. So the times in my life where He is going to allow me to hold on to less and less of who I am or who I thought I was or any part of me, the more and more I look forward to that, because I'm like, that means there's more Jesus to be had. You know what I'm saying? And guys, I look forward to that. Letting go of more and more of who I am in the flesh, even the way I look in the flesh, even my identity. That means that there's more room for Him, more weakness, that He might be stronger. I look forward to that. And so, not that I look forward to the experience of, I'm not as sadomasochist or anything, that I want to hurt myself for my family, but I do look forward to being transformed and putting myself completely yielded into my Potter's hands, knowing that He is going to make something beautiful, way more beautiful than I could ever make myself by His Spirit. And so there are a lot of questions that I've had, though. Like, is this really your plan for me, Lord? Is there a different way? And of course, if there is a way where I don't have to go through that, I would gladly choose it. But like Thomas, I'm saying, how do I know this is the way? How do we know the way? And Jesus just says, I'm not going to tell you exactly what is the next step. I'm just going to say, I am the way. You stay in the present with me, and as we go forward together, you will know which way to go. And I'm okay with that, and I have a lot of peace with that. He is our way, our truth, and our life. Sometimes we just need a sure sign, and we're not always going to get the sure sign. Because if we had a sure sign, we would have to bypass faith. And we're never gonna walk a moment or a step without Jesus where we're not walking in faith. It's always gonna be by faith that we're walking with him. By faith, not by sight, which means we're not gonna see with our eyes. We're gonna see with the eyes of our heart, which is how we're always gonna see our Jesus. If there were a way to walk outside of faith with our Lord, we would take it. As we often do in the flesh. We're always trying to find another way to bypass him, to bypass the what it is to walk by faith and not by sight, because we're so afraid. We're so afraid of truly, truly, truly what it is to walk by faith and not by sight. We're so afraid to take that step out of the boat onto the water when the waves are storming all around us, and to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, knowing that if our eyes move 1 second, that we're going to fall. But we will not fall. In him, we have a sure place to sleep. In him, we will not fall. It's just it's the jump from here to here, what we know in our hearts to be true, to allowing our minds to be conformed to the image of what we already know in our hearts is true, that allows us to truly walk on water in this world, walk in a place that is above this world with him. And that's what it takes to walk with Jesus, and that's what we're all supposed to be doing the whole time that we're here. It's so hard to resist the temptation to want to walk by sight. It's so hard to resist that temptation, what we see with our eyes, to have no bearing on where we're going to go with Jesus, that we're going to go forward with him no matter what.
That can be a little confusing.
A little confusing. What do you mean by that?
Like when you say, like, have faith and you don't know what's next, but just have faith. Like what if it's you're having faith, but what if it's not something for Jesus? What if it's something else?
You have the way to have.
Let's say somebody's like, hey, there's a new job, and how do you know if you should take it? Like, is that not like a Jesus thing, or is it like your own thing?
Right. The way when I say you have faith, faith is more based about the object of the faith. You could have faith in something happening, and we do it all the time. We say, I have faith in this, but it's your faith grounded. It's not the object, it's the object of the faith. That's why Jesus said, if you have the faith of a grain of a mustard seed, which is the tiniest little thing, you could tell this mountain to move from here to there and it would be done. It's not, and it just takes, you could have a ton of faith, but in the wrong thing and nothing will happen.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but if you have the tiniest faith in the right thing, mountains will move. And the right thing is Jesus.
Can I make
Yes.
what you were saying? Things like that. If you don't hear it, you're like, well, I don't know. You just do the best you can, and then you have faith that God will protect you or help you or tell you what you need to know. Sometimes you just have to live that way.
Right. And I also following up to what she said, part of what the answer to that has to do with what the lesson is about today, that our shoes are shod with the readiness of the gospel of peace. That if you're talking about the way and where to go and which way to go, your shoes, where do your feet do? Do your feet just go, or does your brain tell your feet where to go? The brain, right? And Jesus says, otherwise you'd be like, I don't know where I'm going. But your feet are listening to a higher source, right? And that's where Jesus tells us to allow our mind to be transformed by the renewing of His gospel, peace. And so we take our thoughts captive. So if it's outside of His word, you know it's not the way. The other way is that, and every time that there is a peace that comes when you're following the Lord. And there, it just as there is a lack of peace that comes when you're out of the will of the Lord. One way, and this isn't always, not to say you won't be afraid, but there will be a peace that comes when you're in the Lord's will. And if you're halfway trying to follow the Lord and you're seeking Him, truly seeking Him with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and you're praying about it and you're in the Word, it's very hard to miss His will. So, you know what I'm saying? Not to say, and just because you're afraid doesn't mean that it's not God's will. I mean, I'm a little afraid of what is ahead of me, but I'm also know that I'm in God's will. That I have the peace, even though in the midst of the fear.
I am a very indecisive person, and it's like so hard to know if I'm making the right choice. And I don't want to make any decision unless I know it's the right choice. And like God has been like revealing to me or like challenging me to just step out and run with it. And He's giving like all these opportunities, and I'm the one who's like still staying in the same spot when He's moving far ahead of me, and I just need to catch up. And so maybe it doesn't feel right because you're not in the right spot. You need to keep going and going and going, and then you'll have peace when you're at the end because He's already so far ahead of me.
I understand that. And going
and
along
trying different things
when
is
you
what God wants you to do. I mean, how are you going to know? You're not going to know just standing in the same place.
because you're not exercising faith either. If
Yes.
you're standing,
You step out.
He's here. When she was saying that, I was picturing. Jesus says that His word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. And sometimes we don't want to respond. We don't want to walk in faith because we want the floodlight. Like, I want to see not just what's the next step, but like, I want to see a mile ahead. And He never gives us that. A walk by faith is a lamp. And He's referring to a lamp that is literally, in biblical times, would literally just light enough light to get maybe 2 steps ahead. And you're not going to know the path. You're going to walk there, and then the light's going to shine. And so that's kind of what the journey of faith is. Here is all darkness around you that you're going to walk in, and the more and more you begin to walk, the more and more you realize that it's really not about what's ahead. It's really about enjoying the walk with that light. Does that make sense? You'll know you're walking by faith when you're enjoying the company of the light more than you're enjoying the path. It makes sense. So,
And let me tell you a little story that I went through. When I first started teaching, I taught for 2 years in junior high. And then I took a year off because I hadn't passed my certification. And so, and then when I was teaching at a middle school, junior high. And it was my first, I was young, and the kids were walking all over me. I was like 26, and I didn't know any Spanish, and it was predominantly Hispanic school, and they would talk Spanish in front of me on purpose because they'd make me mad, But anyways, so when they found out that I had passed my test, they said, Melissa, we really want you to come back. And I was like, no, I don't want to go back to junior high. I was miserable, blah, blah, blah. And they said, please, Melissa, just come. We've got a new principal. I said, no, it's not about the principal. I said, no, I'm just miserable. I don't want to go back. They said, please, just try it. So I prayed about it, and I remember specifically praying about, on the way, I was in my car, I was like, Lord, I don't want to go. I said, I do not want to be there, blah, blah, blah. If this is your will, I don't know. And I walked into that office, and I just had this, I hadn't even seen anybody. I just walked in. I mean, I taught there for 2 years, but I had taken a year off, and I walked in, and I just knew. Sometimes you just know. And it was like this bubble had bursted, and the Lord said, this is where you're supposed to be, Melissa. I had absolutely no idea why I was supposed to be there, and I was only there for 1 more year and then I got married and ended up teaching in elementary school, but I just knew. Sometimes, I don't know about you, you just know it's like this sense of peace that's just drawn across you, And I never really, still can't figure out why. The only thing I can think of is that one of my students I used to teach, I still communicate with her on Facebook, and she's had kids now. She's like 20-something. She's already had 4 pregnancies. But anyways, that's another story. But you just kind of know. And I remember when I first found out that I couldn't have kids, I mean, I bawled. My ex-husband and I, we cried. We told our Sunday school class. And I just remember one day just bawling and bawling and bawling and crying. And all of a sudden I just stopped. And the Lord said, it's going to be okay. And I just had this sense of peace. I still don't know how it's going to be okay. Like, will I get a miracle baby? Or will I marry somebody who has a child I can help raise? Or will I adopt? Or is it because I'm a teacher? Well, I'm not a teacher right now, so I still don't know. But sometimes you just know. You just have to trust that. And those are the only 2 situations right now that I can refer to, because right now I'm really angry at God, and He knows that. And I've talked to y'all about that before, and it's
Yeah,
really
you can
very
take it.
hard.
We all get into those
And
phases.
He knows, but you will know sometimes. I mean, you can't, like Rhonda said, you don't see things, you feel them almost.
Yeah.
I feel like God is empowering you by giving you all of these like little challenges, you can just like overcome each one, and now He's starting to bless you in each one, and you're gonna see it, and then you're gonna feel so awesome. I just see that.
That's what everybody says, but it's hard for me to see.
Yeah. When, one of the things that touched my heart this week and was probably a great God moment for me was realizing when I'm talking about Jesus being our way, our truth, and our life, is to realize that the very first mention of a question in the Bible was from God. And it was in Genesis 3 at the fall. And it's where the very first question that He asks is, where are you? Where are you? And so, and I thought, wow, because that's really a question that He asks. He doesn't just ask that at the beginning. He asks it often throughout the Bible of many of His people. Where are you? And I thought, man, that's a question we probably need to ask ourselves every day. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you, Rhonda? And it's so hard because we often want to avoid that question. We want to justify why we are where we are instead of just saying the truth. Lord, this is where I am. This is where I am. Because if you tell Him the truth about where you are, guess what? He will come and get you. He will come and get you. But by you avoiding the truth of where you are, He can't. You have that free will to hide from Him, just like Adam and Eve did. You have the free will to hide from Him, just like Adam and Eve did. And He will let you hide as long as you want. But He will never stop coming for you and saying, where are you? Where are you, my beloved? I love you. I'm never going to stop coming for you. Where are you? And our tendency always is to hide. Behind the fig leaves, like, oh gosh, I don't want to come out. I don't want to admit the truth that I'm right here stuck again in the same place. I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed that I'm still here, God. So I'm just going to hide again today. I'm just going to hide here again today. Instead of just saying, you know what, God? Right here. And this is really hard for me to admit to you, God. But this is where I am. This is the truth. And I'm hurting. And I don't even want to talk to you right now. But this is where I am today. And Lord, I don't even know how to get out of here. But will you just please come and get me? And He will. Come and get me. Every time. Where are you? And you know what He'll do? The same thing He did for Adam and Eve. He will cover you. He'll give you skin to put on you and to cover you with the precious blood of Christ. And you will be filled with hope. You will be filled with hope. You'll be covered in His grace, always. But I don't know what it is that is in us that always wants to hide rather than admit the truth. Here I am. And you know what? Nothing happens until you're willing to come out and say, here am I, God. Here am I, God. Here I am. Do with me. I don't even know where to get sometimes the most important thing we can say is, I don't even know how I got here, Lord. My feet just started going and my mind wasn't paying attention, and look, all of a sudden, bam. And sometimes our feet do that. Our flesh just goes whoosh, and then we're like carried away, and we're like, what am I doing here? How did I get from there to here? And he's like, it's okay. I knew you were going to get from there to here, and I'm coming to get you back to me every time, as long as it takes. And every time I will come and get you. So one thing, we're not going to have that peace again with our minds and our heart and our feet until we are willing to say, here I am, God. Here I am, God. Because you know what? He is our peace. And as long as we're hiding, and we're trying to hide for whether it be from men or from God. And sometimes the man you're trying to hide from is you. That's me. The one I try to hide from the most is me. I'm like, oh, I'm not ready to deal with that girl. She is too much for me. And so I hide. And he's like, come on, this is something we got to deal with. Come on out. And then here, let's deal with this girl. And so I'm just saying that because sometimes we hide from man, and sometimes the man we're hiding from is us. And sometimes we're hiding from God. Any form of hiding is always from God, though. It's always, at the root of it, we're hiding from God. And he's saying, where are you? Come on, you know where you need to be. You know where you need to be. You know I am your way, your truth, and your life. And you come out and bring this into the light of who I am. And that you will not have peace until you will come home to him. You will not have peace until you come home to him. And so could it be that very first question, when it talked about what was God doing, it talked about him walking in the garden. He was walking while Adam was hiding. And so I pictured something there because I thought, oh, what a travesty it would be if someone spent their whole life hiding, in a sense, and they never really got anywhere of eternal significance with God. And you know what's sad is there are people, many people, that are already in heaven, and some that haven't gotten there yet, and some that haven't gone to heaven yet, but they're going to get there, and they're going to have realized that they walked a lot of circles, but they never got anywhere. It's kind of like my dog that we adopted from the racetrack. He ran a lot of circles in the racetrack. He covered a lot of territory, but he never got anywhere. In his first moments outside of the track were when we adopted him, and he did not want to leave that track. And there's a lot of Christians like that they have covered a lot of ground, run, in the captivity of activity, but they never got anywhere of eternal significance. And the very first question you're going to hear is not, where are you? Because you're already going to be standing before the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. The very first question you're going to hear, or the intended question, is, what did you do with my son Jesus? Where did you go with him? Because what we were given instructions when Jesus went up, which were instructions to all of us, go, therefore. And it has to do with our feet, right? Go, therefore. Tell the whole world about me, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. And then, if for those people who covered some territory and who, what God had entrusted to them through his Son, went somewhere with it and did something with it, he's going to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. And really, the one who did it well was Jesus, because they allowed who Jesus was by the power of the Holy Spirit to come in them and through them and know them and walk in them. And they literally became the hands and the feet of Christ. And they went where he told them to go. And they saw what he wanted them to see. And they spoke what he wanted them to speak. And they did what he wanted them to do with their lives. And he's going to say, well done. There is an implied activity on the part. So there is a lot that has to do with your shoes and where you're going to go in this life. Are your shoes headed for where Christ wants you to go? Or are your shoes headed for where you want to go? Because when you can't go both places, it's either you or Jesus. And once you belong to Christ, you are no longer your own. You give up your right to yourself for Christ. And you lose yourself, and you find yourself for the first time in Him. You are found in Him. And the coolest thing about it is it doesn't matter where you were. He can take you from the pit to the mountaintop. Just by saying, here am I. And the enemy will come and try to shame you and say, where were you yesterday? It doesn't matter where you were yesterday. Where are you right now? Where are you going? From this moment forward. The enemy is an accuser and will always try and take you back, but Jesus will always take you forward. Every time He'll take you forward. Forward and up. So the sad thing could be that we could live our whole lives here and never go anywhere. Never go anywhere, because once you are in Christ, you're meant to go places that are above this world and beyond this world, not in this world. You are not of this world anymore. You are part of a kingdom that is not of this world anymore. And you are meant to, instead of trying to establish a kingdom here on earth, you're meant to take that kingdom of heaven and pull it down and let it be seen and experienced here on earth, so that others may come to know Christ and His kingdom may be expanded in you and through you. That is how you go somewhere in the kingdom of God. It has everything to do with your feet. We must be willing to allow God every morning to get up. I challenge you to allow Him to say, where are you? Where are you? Tell Him the truth about where you are. Even if it's the ugliest place, just tell Him the truth. I've talked to so many people who just aren't willing to say that. They're just not willing to tell the truth. I'm not ready to talk to God yet. I'm like, why not? You try to clean yourself up, you think it's going to get better tomorrow? It's not. You're going to be uglier tomorrow than you are today, so you might as well just tell Him where you're at. You might as well just tell Him where you're at right now. He can take it. He can take it, and He already does know. Why are you wasting time? Why are you wasting time? Tell Him the truth. He can take it. He will come and get His little lamb, carry you on His shoulders, and take you back to the flock. He is our way, our truth, and our life. I love it with the curse also, because there's a lot that has to do with feet in the curse in Genesis 3. But I love it, and I never thought about this till this week, that He told the snake, He said, onto your belly you shall go. And it just hit me, oh my gosh, He doesn't have a leg to stand on. Literally. I mean, literally, He doesn't have any legs. But then within the curse, there is this blessed hope. Because the very next curse He gives is to the woman. And He says, you're going to have children, and it's going to hurt. But you will crush his head, and he will bruise your heel. You will crush his head, but he will bruise your heel. And so there is this hope, this blessed hope that, hey, you're going to give life, and you are going to have a leg to stand on, and not only that, but you're going to have feet. But your walk is going to be hard. Your heels are going to be bruised when you walk on this earth, but you're going to be going somewhere. There's an ability to go somewhere, because even though it's going to be hard, you are going to be crushing the head of the enemy with that heel. So we're going to go somewhere in this world if we go with Christ. And the walk with Christ is not all health, wealth, and prosperity. My life was my life was crazy and bad and mentally anguished, but it didn't really get hard as far as like the world standards until I started walking with Christ. I never was sick or anything until I started walking with Jesus. All my health problems didn't even start until then. And so it was like, my walk is hard, but man, I wouldn't trade for anything. Peace like a river. What would I not? I wouldn't give that up for anything. I wouldn't give that up for anything. So yes, our walk is going to be hard, but we are going to crush the head of the enemy. And as we're walking through it, we are going to go to eternal places. And who wouldn't trade that for anything? And in Isaiah 52:12. This is God saying, "For you shall not go out in haste, you shall not go out in flight, for the Lord will go before you. And the God of Israel will be your rear guard." I love this picture. I love this verse. It is so beautiful because you literally picture, like, I get the picture of Israel whenever they went through whenever Israel was going across the Red Sea, and it says that there's the cloud that went in front of them and then the fire that went behind them. Literally, he went before them and he was their rear guard, and he stood behind them because the Egyptians were coming after them. And so literally, when they looked back to look to see if their enemies were coming, they didn't see their enemies anymore. What they saw was this big pillar of fire. And I don't know about you, but I'd be more scared of fire than I were of my enemies, because that's God. That's God. And so literally, he was leading them, and it was like he's like his one hand here and one hand here. He said, "Don't you worry, my child. I have you completely protected. You are in my presence." And almost like a hen, like he refers to it, like a hen gathers her chicks around, and he's like, "Don't you worry, I'm going with you. We're going somewhere. I'm taking you, and you are safe in me. You are safe in me." And even though they could see the literal hands of God protecting them, they still didn't trust him. And so often we are the same. We are so often the same. It's just God asking us, will you walk with me? Will you let me lead you through this life? Will you let me become your way, your truth, and your life? You will discover knowing me is your way, your truth, and your life. And the way I like to talk about this is like when I go on a walk with someone, there's some friends that there's friends you have that you walk with them, and you may be going somewhere really exciting, but you're not even excited about where you're going because you're just so excited about being with that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, when we were on our retreat, I was so excited about the retreat, but I wasn't